to a small country of Lithuania at the Baltic Sea in Europe, close to the Russian Empire. After World War II, the Russian state took over the small country of Lithuania, 2.5 million people, and the people lived in basically a rather repressed state. But then in 1991, the Lithuanians shook off the yoke of the Russian Empire, and Lithuania became independent again. And with that, things began to change. Privatization, modernization, freedom reigned, and a new energy burst forth in developing a new economy. And here's what happened. 1991, the West now began to invade the culture of Lithuania. European foods came to Lithuania. American foods came to Lithuania. This is what I saw as I spent some time in Lithuania to introducing the lifestyle medicine concepts to the country of Lithuania. These are all American foods. I've never seen so many American foods in a gas station, not even in America, as I saw in Lithuania. The people discovered the newness of tastes. They were no longer under the Russian domination. They could do whatever they wanted to do. You see, Coca-Cola is there, and Monster drinks. It's all part of the new Lithuania. But you paid a high price, because over the next 10 years, heart disease emerged very strongly in Lithuania, and 25 years later, today, Lithuania, 55% of the deaths in Lithuania are related to coronary artery disease, cardiovascular disease, 55%. America is 30%. This is 55% in just 25 years. This country went from almost 0 to 55% of all the deaths because it changed to the Western diet. And you can see the cancer rates now in Lithuania are at 20%, and diabetes is also soaring, and obesity. Whenever we have an American Western diet, you can call it an Australian diet, you can call it a New Zealand diet, you can use it a European diet. When you have a Western diet which is characterized by lots of meat and lots of processed food, you will always find within 5 to 10 years the emergence of modern killer diseases. There's a direct relationship there between what you do with your fork and your knife and what you don't. I'll give you another example. 1952, it was difficult to find heart disease in Japan. As a matter of fact, the University of Tokyo Medical School they imported coronary arteries from one of the big universities in America. You know, people die, and they take the coronary arteries, and they were selling them to the University of Tokyo so they could show medical students what killed every second American then, heart disease. They showed them the arteries that were narrowed down by the cholesterol buildup. This was 1955. It was difficult to find heart disease in Japan. They had to actually import coronary arteries that were diseased to show them what killed every American. But something changed in Japan. Take a look. This is Japan now. What happened in Japan? They began to eat less rice. This is 1960. You see the rice consumption goes down quite a bit. At the same time, they're replacing rice and starchy foods with animal products and fats. You see the dramatic increase in fat consumption and the dramatic decrease in starch or healthy starch consumption, such as brown rice and white rice. There's a direct, significant change there. What happened to the overweight? The red line here, 1960, it went from 4% to 10% to 15% to 18% of the Japanese adults are now obese. Actually not obese, but overweight. They're significantly overweight. And please note the yellow line here, when you have developed as an overweight in society, the next thing that happens is the diabetes rates also go up. Diabetes and overweight are cousins. Once you develop this special sign of prosperity in the midsection, be aware. It's a dangerous sign, because usually the next thing that happens is that diabetes type 2 develops. And so here you see the results. In 1960, it was difficult to find diabetes in Japan. 1980, now it's about 6 to 12%. And today, more than 15% of the Japanese people over 40 years of age have diabetes. You couldn't find it in 1960. What changed in the diet? What changed? Review. What changed? The increase in fats, animal products, refined oils. What went down? Simple foods like potatoes and rice. With that increase in obesity, with that increase in diabetes, here you see the results. It's now over 16 times more common than it was in the 1960s. And so here you see the change that began to take place in 1972, the emergence of fast food. Fast food, we talked about the idea that with fast food came the changes in the diet. No more potatoes, but potato chips. No more corn, but corn chips. No more corn, no more brown rice, no more native foods. And here you see the change in the sugar consumption. People in America used to eat 2 teaspoons. Now it's more like 33 teaspoons, and most of it comes from these soda pops. This is what an American family drinks every week. Every week, people buy, on the average in America, 32 cans of soda pop, husband, wife, and 2 children. Calories. Every can has 10 to 12 teaspoons of sugar. Calories, 150 calories. A woman shouldn't have more than 1,500 calories. If you have 3 or 4 of these pops a day, right there you have 500 calories. No nutritious values. And then look at what happens to oil. This to me was most really surprising. Do you know it takes 14 ears of corn to extract 1 tablespoon of oil? Did you get this one? Yes. It takes 14 ears of corn to extract 1 tablespoon of oil. You could never overeat on corn oil if you wouldn't have the corn extracted by industrial processes. Just imagine, you wanted to have 1 tablespoon of corn oil, you have to eat 14 ears of corn. It's impossible. But because it's now industrialized and it is extracted, you can very easily put 2, 3, 4 tablespoons of corn oil into your food, and you won't even realize the amount of calories you have just taken in, and no nutritional value. Just think, we take 14 ears of corn, we extract the oil, Homo sapiens, human beings, consume the oil which has no nutritional value, and all the rest of the corn we give to our pigs and to our animals. That's very bright, isn't it? That's very smart, isn't it? All the nutrients we give to the animals, and we settle for the oil which has no nutritional value, just calories. We talked about that already, didn't we? You have 1 tube of Pringles, or you can have 10 potatoes. The calories are the same. And so this is then the American diet, where you notice that about almost 50% of the calories that we eat have no nutritional value. And that's exactly what's happening in the Philippines. As you move more and more towards these refined processed foods, you increase your sugar, no nutritional value, fats and oils, virtually no nutritional value, and then alcohol added to it, no nutritional value, so that you come up to about 40–50% of what we eat has no nutritional value. You know, I like that poem that you read there earlier about creation, right? 7-day creation. I mean, think about this. Simple, good foods, native foods, refined, and you take all the nutrients out, and all you have now calories. There's a powerful interplay between the forces of good and the forces of evil, right? Yeah. And then when you add the animal products to it, that's where the cholesterol is. You can see how the opponent of the original designer must be laughing in his sleeve of pushing his refined wares on us. So we have seen two big shifts in the diet in America. The first shift was moving from whole foods to refined foods. Second shift is moving from plant foods to animal products. Japan, classic example. China in the last 25 years had very little heart disease, very little cholesterol. I was out there, I couldn't find high cholesterol numbers. I go now to China, to Beijing, I go to Shanghai, the same cholesterol numbers that we have in America. And heart disease is there, and diabetes is there, and it's emerging more and more. And the government of China said, we need to cut back on meat, particularly pork. And this is what the science tells us. Here you see in America from 1910 to today, we have almost doubled the increase in animal products. Now, here's what we do in America. In America, we slaughter 1 million animals every hour. We slaughter 1 million animals every hour. These animals are not roaming out in the meadows. No, they're in special factory farms where you have 30,000 pigs that come into a factory situation there, and they get slaughtered a day, 30,000 pigs. We have become excessive in what we're doing. Just to give you some idea, people are always surprised when I show them. You know these American hot dogs? You have hot dogs here too? Yeah? Maybe I shouldn't tell you that. Should I tell you this? You know, 85% of the calories in a hot dog is fat. And I don't think you want to know the other 15%, because if you knew what they put in there, you would never eat another hot dog again, because anything and everything they cannot sell as meat goes into those skins and sold as, folks, I'm actually amazed how many of us are falling into the traps of digging into these banquets. Banquet? 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 Bankai? I mean, people eating bankai. And actually people pray for that God is blessing us with another bankai. We have become addicted to pad thai meat. I mean, it has evolved so naturally that we have never thought about it, of what we're doing to ourselves. I mean, 1 million animals every hour are slaughtered to fill our stomachs. That wasn't the original idea, was it? God gave us a garden to take care of. So all these, and then here, when it comes to these processed foods, the World Health Organization declared these meats a #1 carcinogen, just like tobacco causing lung cancer. So these processed foods like bacon and hot dogs, these kind of foods that are declared now directly responsible in causing cancers, particularly colon cancer. So this is a very devastating assessment coming from the World Health Organization. And they consider all meats are a #2. That means a probable carcinogen. Carcinogen meaning something that causes cancer. Here you have bacon and sirloin steak. You know, people always say to me, well, I need to have some animal protein. I need to have protein, right? Folks, protein doesn't come from animals only. Protein comes from beans. Lots of protein is in beans. You don't have to worry about protein ever, ever, ever. We are overdosing on protein. And this is responsible in part for many of our chronic diseases, particularly kidney disease. When you have countries where you have basically a plant-based diet, it's very difficult to find kidney disease. It's very difficult to find dialysis units. They're not needed there. Please note, when you have a sirloin steak, there's 25% protein. That's it. And 75% fat. These are all fat-rich foods. They're not protein-rich foods. They're fat-rich foods. Are you with me there? Are you following there? Yeah. So when you have that corned beef, that's 74% fat, and you thought you were eating protein. We have to really let go of this mistaken notion that meat is necessary because you need to have your protein. Protein is everywhere in nature. Even in an orange, you have 1 gram of protein. It's not a lot, but you have beans, you have potatoes, you have rice, you have protein in all these foods. Don't ever worry about getting inadequate protein when you shift in eating less meat, ever. And then look at the cheese consumption in America. Here's 1975. What happened here? All of a sudden, the cheese consumption dramatically increases. What happened in 1975? Come on, we talked about that. What happened in 1975? What happened in 1975? Fast food industry came up. Hot dogs, right? Cheeseburgers, pizza, right? And then people said, we don't want to drink whole milk anymore because whole milk has too much cholesterol in it and too much saturated fat, which is kind of dangerous. And people said, we don't want to drink whole milk anymore. And the industry said, no problem. We'll give you skim milk. What do you think they did with all the fat that they took off the milk? Do you think they sent it to Africa? Do you think they sent all the fat from the milk to China? No. They made it into cheese. And so today you have an oversupply of cheese. Cheese today is worse. Cheese is considered to be worse an offender in developing heart disease than beef or pork. Cheese has taken the top position now because of all this saturated fat that makes the liver go overtime to produce extra cholesterol. Cheese is not in your best interest. Please note it has gone from 3.8 pounds to 33 pounds now. And when you eat cheese, that's 71% fat. Milk is about 50% fat. These are high-fat foods. And cheese today is the #1 source of saturated fat in the American diet, driving the cholesterol numbers and directly responsible for the high problem of
Filipinos eat a lot of cream, the last portion.
Oh.
They eat a lot of salad.
Do Filipinos eat cream? You do?
Yes.
Oh,
Salad.
I forgot about that. Maybe I should go back here. You see the cream there? Now, what kind of a cream is it? Is it like Philadelphia cream cheese? Oh, in salads, in pasta. Oh, you love those kind of things. Maybe I shouldn't tell you that I'm spoiling your day. I shouldn't tell you. Then I'm spoiling your day, since this is so important to you. Do you see? Cream is 90% fat. 90% fat. You might as well eat Vaseline. That's 100% fat. Be careful. These are animal products. The cream is high in saturated fat. The cheese is high in salt. The cheese has cholesterol. It has no fiber. It's not in your best interest. You see, it's sort of a cultural thing that has happened, right? Just like in America right now. They push in America right now coconut oil. And it's pushed big time from Indonesia in particular, because coconut oil is very easy to produce, it's inexpensive, and there's a big profit margin. And so people in America have this idea, because of marketing efforts, coconut oil is natural. It's good for you. It's the worst saturation fat that you can possibly eat. Coconut water, no problem. Coconuts, no problem. But when you extract it, it becomes the most saturated fat that drives the liver crazy in producing excessive amounts of cholesterol, driving heart disease. You see, these are oftentimes marketing things that happen. And they come up with all kinds of claims. You can reverse Alzheimer's if you take this coconut. Folks, don't believe it. Be always careful about these coconut fats and oils. So this is the American diet, and this is where the Filipino diet is moving to. What do you see there? The lady here in yellow. What do you see? How much percentage points is coming from the yellow colors?
It's 51%.
51%, and the yellow color represents refined.
9%.
Okay, 51% in yellow is refined processed food. Are you with me? So half of all the calories we eat is refined processed food. It's not native food, it's not simple food, it's not food that's grown, it's all processed. Okay? And all you do with this stuff, put it in a microwave oven and you eat it, right? Comes in a box, we don't cook anymore. Right? So 50% of what we eat comes from processed foods. Then what about 9%? What is this one here? 9% is animal products. 26% is really dairy and animal products. 26% of the calories we eat comes from animal products. And here is the biggest attention that I'd like you to pay. And that is only 14% of the calories we eat in America comes out of the hand of the master designer. Should I say that again? Should I say it again? Only 14% of the calories we eat comes from food that comes out of the hand of the master designer. Everything else is animal products or processed foods. All made for profits, all made for profits, and here you have 14%. That was the original design, if I listen to your poem correctly, right? This is then the most important slide of this presentation today. This is the way it used to be in China. This is the way it used to be in Japan. This is the way it used to be probably in the Philippines some 50, 60 years ago. Most of the calories from the food that you eat comes from the green color, which is starch. Good, healthy starch, unrefined starch, like corn and potatoes and brown rice, these kind of foods, oats, okay? And you notice here, there's some sugar, the yellow band, and there's some fat. Because when you eat corn, you always get enough fat, right? Because that's where corn oil comes from, right? So in this kind of a diet of natural foods, as we used to have in China, in Japan, in the Philippines, lots of starchy foods, some sugar there, some fat there, and there's always enough protein there, the blue color. But now, as you begin to turn the potatoes into potato chips, they become high-fat foods, and the fat goes up. As you turn sugar that comes from the beets, right? Sugar beets, you now refine it, and it becomes now an overabundance of sugar that you find in most processed foods, like a donut, the cakes, the pies. That's all fat and sugar. That's all it is. Fat and sugar and taste. And you spend a lot of money for it. And so when you begin to refine this food and you add a lot of animal products, the protein goes up, the animal fat goes up. Look at this change here. And whenever you have this kind of a diet composition, this diet composition becomes the marker of the emergence of chronic diseases. Whenever you have the diet composition on the right-hand side, you will always have within 5 to 10 years, you will find heart disease where you didn't find it before. You will find diabetes where you didn't find it before. 5 to 10 years. They just found a very simple tribe of people in Bolivia. They checked these people out for heart disease. They couldn't find heart disease. They couldn't find any narrowing of the arteries. The researchers were absolutely astounded. They said, these people have no heart disease, they have no diabetes, they have none of these diseases that we have. What do they live on? On very, very simple foods. But now the culture is beginning to change in this particular area. And in the next 10 years, they expect heart disease there, high blood pressure there, diabetes there, obesity, because the Western foods are coming in. So this is the most important slide for you to really understand the relationship between food composition and Western diseases, food composition and chronic diseases, food composition and non-communicable diseases, right? And this is pretty much the diet that the Filipinos now are consuming. Mostly animal fats, particularly from pork and chicken, right? Particularly pork. And then you have these vegetable oils, lots of sugar, lots of this is refined starch, this is white flour type things, like cakes and pies, and then also the protein, which has become too high because of the consumption of animal products. And so what you see now is, you see a dramatic increase in breast cancer. This is in the US, 1960. 1 in women develop breast cancer. Now it's 1 in 7 women developing breast cancer. Changes in diet seem to correlate very closely with these developments. Diabetes. We have seen diabetes emerge, particularly in the last 35 years. It's increased by 40%. This is diabetes the way it used to be. And then in 1985, it began dramatically to increase. Why? Because that's when we changed our diet in America in particular. We changed the diet big time to processed foods and to more animal products. Remember the 2 shifts? More processed foods, more animal products, more diabetes, 400% in just 30 years. In America, every second adult will have diabetes right now or pre-diabetes. Every second adult. Every second person over 21 years will have diabetes or the early beginnings of the emergence of diabetes. As a matter of fact, a baby born in America today, 1 out of 3 babies will become a diabetic in a lifetime. And if you're Hispanic, it's 1 out of 2 babies will become diabetics. Because people that come from Mexico, people come from the Hispanic areas, they have very little in terms of food supplies. They come to America and they have all the abundance of foods and they just enjoy it and they don't realize they gain weight, they become diabetics, and their children become diabetics too. Have you seen this? What do you see here? Can you see this from where you are? This is the width of the chairs. What happened?
They get wider.
They get wider? Do they get very much wider or just a little bit? Just a little bit, right? It's not too bad. That's okay, right? Look what happened now. Remember I said 1980 we changed, 1970 we changed our diet? Look what happened. They rebuilt the, one of the big stadiums in New York and they put new seats in. And when they were finished with the stadium, they were short 26,000 seats. Why? Because the average seat had become so much larger, they couldn't get as many seats into the stadium as they used to have. Powerful. We have to build larger gurneys in our hospitals because the people can't fit on these gurneys anymore. We're becoming a huge country. And I'm afraid you are still not there yet. But I'm afraid that you have to really watch your waistline. You're looking good to me. But I mean, I'm beginning to see it's creeping up, isn't it? And whenever you have obesity, you have to worry about diabetes. It's 7 times more common among obese people. High blood pressure, heart disease, arthritis, asthma, and the cancers. They're all dramatically increased when you have an obese person. And so I want to make a big plug now for American medicine. American medicine is great. Philippine medicine is great because many times you have been trained in Europe and in America in high-tech medical procedures. You have access to the medications, they're all here. We can do a wonderful job when it comes to infectious diseases. We can do a wonderful job when it comes to diagnosing disease. We can do a wonderful job when it comes to having a broken leg. This is where you go to find help to high-tech medicine. What about these chronic diseases? What about these non-communicable diseases? Are we doing very well there? Well, let's take a look at this here. We do bypass surgery, and a bypass in America costs $150,000. That's 7.5 million pesos for heart attack. And the heart attacks are largely self-made. Your fate is in your hands. Right? Think about this. What would I say, times 50? 7.5 million pesos for a bypass surgery. And let me give you some sad results. We can only find that in 10% of the people that get these bypasses do they live any longer than if they didn't get the bypass. Just think about this. We do 400,000 bypasses, and only about 10% actually have their life extended. The other 90%, it doesn't make any difference, because nobody tells these people, you've got to stop smoking, you've got to get into an exercise program, you've got to have a diet that is, in this case, a strictly plant-based, low-sugar, low-fat diet. You have to cut back on your cholesterol. Nobody tells the people that because the doctors are doing very well as surgeons, they cut, the patient does fairly well. For a couple of months, they go through those painful experiences of healing. They go through the depression, but then it's over, and they say, oh, I'm now okay, my doctor saved my life. And a year later, listen, a year later, 18 months later, 40% of these bypasses no longer work because they're clogged up again, because nobody said to the people, you've got to change. There's nobody there. The surgeons did a great job. But there was no one there that took them. They need to have Dr. Michelle in America to go to every hospital and say, you got to come into the CHIP program to keep those bypasses open, right? And then you have these stents, these angioplasties, and then we do about $1 million a year, and they cost on the average about $30,000. You can get them done here in the Philippines for, I heard today, 200,000 pesos. 200,000 pesos. 200,000 pesos for a stent, and sometimes they give you 2 or 3 stents at a time, depending on how much damage is there. So you can pay 500,000 pesos for a stent, and 45% close up again within 6 months. They don't last because nobody tells the people you've got to make some change. What do you have to change? Diet? Exercise, smoking, stress. These are the kind of things. What about these drugs? Do you have statin drugs here in the Philippines? The most successful drug ever developed in terms of profitability for the industry. Listen very carefully. Listen very carefully. I tell you the truth here. Listen very carefully. Statin drugs. When you have had a heart attack and you take the statin drugs, they can actually help you. They bring your cholesterol down, they can help you. But diet will be much more powerful. Okay? You don't need those drugs if you make some dietary changes. But listen, if you haven't had a heart attack yet, you have some of these good people here, right? You haven't had any heart disease yet. You're all young. You're looking great to me. Okay, and the doctor says, oh, I think your cholesterol is a little bit high. I better give you some medication. So you take the medication. Listen. They've done the studies on hundreds of thousands of people that were on these medications. People like you folks there. And here's what they found. They found you can take 100 men over the age of 25 and you give them these statin drugs and they drive down the cholesterol just like diet does. So they drive down the cholesterol, but when they check out, do these drugs do more than just lowering the cholesterol, they found they didn't do anything. Do people live longer when you take those statin drugs? Do they have less heart disease? No! As a matter of fact, they found that when you take 100 men over the age of 40 and you give them these powerful statin drugs, it brings down the cholesterol, but, listen, it brings down the cholesterol, but It only prevents 1 or 2 heart attacks in these 100 men that have taken these drugs for 5 years. And during those 5 years, these 100 men have spent $500,000 for these drugs to prevent 1 at the most 2 heart attacks. Folks, you can do this so much easier with some diet. Now, I want you to come.
May I? May I? Yes. Yes.
No.
Yes.
I just heard that you have gone through a CHIP program.
Yes.
Why did you come to a CHIP program? This is Annabelle.
Cuenca.
Okay, you are a heart disease patient and you're a chipper.
Yes.
You're one of these courageous women.
Yes. How much time are you giving me? Joke.
You tell the story.
Yeah, I'll tell a story. Can you give me at least 5 minutes?
I'll
3
give,
minutes?
I'll give you
More.
I'll give you 300 seconds.
Okay, 300 seconds. Okay, so let me limit it to when I came. Okay, I introduced myself as a chipper and someone who has benefited most from CHIP, the Complete Health Improvement Program. And I'm really giving a testimony. You know, last night I really prayed because I want to give back to CHIP what I have benefited. And I was really praying because, you know, we don't live our lives for ourselves. We live it for others. You know, any religion will tell you that, the Bible will tell you that. So last night I was really praying, Lord, how can I give back? Because I benefited. So I prepared a little note, 3-minute notes. But my ad-lib is not included there. Okay, anyway, so
you're doing good.
Finished. Okay. In January, I went to, God led me to Dr. Michelle, praise God, because, and what led me, humanly speaking, my cardiologist said, after showing him 6 months of normal cholesterol, what else? Blood sugar, HbA1c. I don't know, do you understand what I'm talking about? HbA1c is the measure of your blood sugar for 2 to 3 months, correct? And, well, cholesterol, lipid profiles, creatinine, etc. I had 6 months of normal, what do you call these markers, compared to, well, high markers then. And then that was just on a self, what you call this na, trial and error. What you call this, juicing vegetables, blending fruits and vegetables, etc., reducing portions. Okay, but anyway, and I told my doctor, is there a way that I can reduce my maintenance? Because then, before I went to Dr. Michelle, my insulin was 33 units in the morning, 23 units during lunch, and 33 units in the evening. Now, praise God, after I went to Michelle, although it's a process, that was just January, now it's 22 and 18 and my blood sugar is terribly normal. Praise God.
So no, stay.
And I have so many stories.
Just a minute. So let me summarize. This lady, a diabetic, was using over 80 units of insulin.
Yes.
She joins Dr. Michelle. She's now down to 40 units. And her blood sugar is totally normal, and it will continue to go down. But that's not the only part of your story. Didn't you have some problems with the heart?
Yes.
Tell us about the heart.
Okay, so in 2015, in June, I had chest pains. I thought it was just an overdose from my cough medicines. Okay, so I had those chest pains, and well, it was a long process, no? So many tests for the heart, okay, from to the echo, stress test, angiogram is the gold supposedly measure, no, of finding out what's wrong with this patient. Why is she having a lot of chest pains? Okay, so and my angiogram showed that 70% of my arteries is blocked. No? That's why it's called coronary artery disease. Okay. So, and the doctor, I had two cardiologists. They prescribed, because when I had the angioplasty, the angiogram, which is the test for finding out if there are plaques. Plaques means, can I say in Ilonggo, parabala sa arteries? Okay. So, the agreement was if the doctors find out that I have bara or plaques in the arteries, they will pursue the angioplasty right there and then in the procedure room. Okay. However, my what do you call the doctor who cardiologist, my CAD specialist, coronary artery disease specialist, said that it was dangerous for me to have
stent
angioplasty because I could not understand it because the location of the plaques were in a dangerous position, and I had very thin veins, etc., etc.
Okay.
So the recommendation was bypass.
Let me summarize. So this lady has chest pain. She thinks it's caused by something like a cough, and then she is being diagnosed with various testing procedures as having narrowed arteries. There's a plaque buildup, and you have 70% narrowing of one of the arteries. And then when they think about doing a stent, they begin to understand that she has very thin walls. It could be dangerous. We cannot do a stent, which would have been 200,000 pesos probably. And so what did they decide to do? No stent? What did they do?
By the way, it's not 200,000 pesos, but more than $500,000. And we were ready. We were ready during that time, praise God. I mean, thank God we had the money for it. But it was a dangerous procedure that my doctor said it would be fatal for me to undergo the angioplasty. So the recommendation that was in November of 2015, the recommendation was go for a surgery by heart bypass. Do you know what a bypass is? The explanation was if there's traffic in the city and the cars, there's traffic, so you need to have overpasses. You have to build other street structures so that the cars can pass. The cars, in our case, would be the blood, the oxygen, no? So they have to build highways inside to bypass, the plaques, the traffic.
You're doing a great job. So what she's talking about is she learns that they have to harvest, most likely a vein from the leg and stitch it in so they have a bypass so the traffic can be rerouted. So, and did you have the bypass?
No. So I prayed again and it was really a struggle. I mean, I've learned so many things, like number one, can I speak in Ilonggo? Can you understand Ilonggo?
No, it's fine.
But I will translate it. Number one, you cannot just depend on money, whether you have it or you don't have it. Am I speaking in English?
No.
Because then my thinking was, if you have money, you can solve anything. And if you don't have money, you cannot solve anything. Okay, but the point is,
Go ahead.
okay, but you
During
see,
those
to
times,
make
she
a long
can
story
barely
short, it
walk.
was a process, no? From
You
2015
give a
to
quick summary.
2017 when I met Dr.
As a
Michelle
doctor.
Palma. God impressed upon my heart because I was spending a lot of money on maintenance for the heart, for the including statins, for the heart. And I have another story later about the statins. So, 1 minute lang, I go to the statins, it's more interesting. The last time, that was just last April, oh wait, May, April, so now it's June, that was last month. Okay, I told my cardiologist, he's the second one, because the first cardiologist, I said goodbye to him when he said, in 2015, that you will be forever in maintenance. Okay, and he told me Nilongo, hindi ka dahil mag-ambisyon. No matter how normal are your markers, you can never get out of your maintenance. You will be forever hooked to these medications. And there were a lot, I was spending 30 to 50,000 a month for medications. Okay, anyway, until nagkalaputo na ko, anyway, pero kalagita, one was a statin. So, in last month lang, I had a tub. So, probably I can read this. It will be 3 minutes if I just read it. Later, if you need time. I told my doctor, look, statins are bad. And as a cardiologist, he will never accept that statins are bad. That it does more harm to the other parts of our body and our organs, no? And I said, I've been worried, sick about taking statins, and if you want me to be honest with you, I don't take them. But look at my markers. So last April, supposedly 3.9 sa cholesterol na, no? Sa bad cholesterol. And kita niya, my markers were 1.75 or 1.78, and supposedly ang normal is just 3.9. And mine was 1.75. And I said, sorry, but I didn't drink any of your statins. That's for cholesterol. So, what did I do? Chip and lifestyle medicine. Lifestyle change, sorry. I told you, I forget if I don't read. I'm 60 years old, so,
You're good.
so I'm forgetting. Sorry. What to say?
What? No, you stay here. What I like to do is I like to turn this over to your physician as a compromise, not to read this, but she will give us the report. With that, your physician right there.
I'll do it.
Yes.
Would that be a good compromise?
Yes.
Will we still be friends?
Yes.
Because your time is up.
She can give it scientifically.
Okay.
Yes, thank you.
Okay, so you can see her alertness now, right?
Thank you.
She's jumping, she's walking, she's running. But you know, before she had the lifestyle change, hindi siya kalakad sa SMCT. She can't barely walk, you know? So, nabudlayan yung number niya sa akin. When she goes to SMCT, dapat mayupod siya so she can walk around. So, hapuon siya because she has nothing in her heart. But as you can see her now, I'm very sure I'm asking for her angiogram again. Yeah, she walks more than 10,000 steps by now. I have here another chipper who told me, Doc, Mike, where are you, Mom Martin? Is she here? I have another chipper. She told me her concern is the 10,000 steps required in chip because she also had a heart problem. But you know, when they finished, she became the highest miler. Siya pang pinakataas na aksin sa ila, herde siya. Now, what I'm trying to tell you here in summary, Mom Annabelle has been suffering from so many chronic diseases and even battling for cancer. But the thing is, you see how happy she is, resilience is there, that's the only thing that will give you the benefit. You may be having some chronic disease, only 1, 2, or 3, she's having a lot. So she has a lot of stories to tell. I have some more chippers in here, but if they will tell you their stories, this day is not really enough.
Thank you so much. Thank you. We have hundreds of people like you that have begun to understand that how you use the end of your fork can make all the difference The fork and knife can be weapons of mass destruction, or they can be instruments of health, hope, and healing. That's what happened to you. We have 80,000 chippers, and many of them have stories just like yours. And what they always find is that when you take care of one disease in their body, it takes care of the other diseases too, because the diet is not only affecting the heart, it's also affecting the diabetes and the high blood pressure and the mind, and you have clarity of mind, and your fog begins to lift. Depression begins to lift. So let me just finish up here the story. We can take a look at high blood pressure numbers. High blood pressure medications don't cure high blood pressure. They only help you to lower it, but when you forget the medication, what happens to the blood pressure? Goes up again. Not with the diet. When you make dietary changes and you stay with the program, your blood pressure will always be low. When you have a stent, the stent might help you for a year, and then you have another stent. It's just maintenance. We don't cure these diseases, we just buy time. And yet you can cure this disease because you can open up the arteries again. They may be 70% narrowed, and after about a year, they may be only 60% narrowed or 50% narrowed, because you can reverse the underlying disease process called plaques. Are you with me there? This is a revolutionary change. And please note, here in America, the number 3 cause of death right after cardiovascular disease and cancer, the number 3 one of death is prescription drugs. Are you listening? When you take the statin drugs, 20% of these people will have such severe muscle pain they have to be taken off these medications. And then when it comes to these blood sugar medications, yes, we can lower the blood sugar, but you don't cure anything. If you forget to take your insulin, your blood sugar will be way up there. Not with her anymore. You notice it? It's going to go down and down and down. The body always is in a default position of wanting to heal itself. There's a drive in the body that wants to move towards health. But you have to put the right raw materials into the body so the body can respond. You cannot clog up the system with hot dogs and with pizzas and with Oreos. You've got to find the foods that are coming to us the way they were made originally. And when you do this and you shift in that direction, the body says, thank you, and I will honor your efforts. Stay on it. So please note, the number 3 cause of death in America, prescription drugs. The average physician in America has 13 minutes time to see a patient. And 30 minutes of the office visit is to determine the disease and to enter into a computer. And the average doctor has 6 or 7 minutes to really do anything for you. In 6 or 7 minutes, you cannot tell a person very much about the lifestyle. You can say, well, I want you to lose weight, I want you to stop smoking, get an exercise. And what does the person do? How do you change your diet? How do you change your exercise? That's why CHIP is a magic, because you have a group process. And the people help each other. And you learn. You notice this lady talks like a physician almost now. You notice that? She understands the disease process. When we ask people that come to our CHIP program, you have heart disease? Yes. You have bypass? Yes. How many bypasses? 3. What arteries? I don't know. How much narrowing did you have? I don't know. They don't understand the disease. They don't even know what heart disease is. And we have to help people to understand. Once they understand, they'll do it. Because we can promise them the body will heal itself in most cases. Now, even cancer, we can take people with prostate cancer. We put them on a very simple diet like we're talking about here. Plant-based, whole food program, prostate cancer. And the prostate cancer in 3 months will be gone. It's an early prostate cancer. It has not progressed too far, and it will be gone. And people say, that's impossible. Yes, we all thought it's impossible. But the body is in a healing position to want to always drive towards health. It's all published in medical journals. It's all there. But you have to have people to give them the education and the inspiration and the motivation. Because all of us know we could do better than we do, don't we? We all know we should get our 5 miles in. We all know we should get our 7, 8 miles of walking in a day. That's 10,000 steps a day. We all know this. The science is there. The government is telling us that. Now we have esplanades. All of these kind of things are here in place. We have gymnasiums. It's all there. We need to do it. But we all will still fall in doing what we know we should be doing because it's too difficult. Because the culture seduces us and says, oh, don't worry about it. Watch the television. Watch the people that are exercising. Don't exercise. But when you have a group and you're accountable now, and they say, how much exercise did you do this last week? And they meet twice a week or 3 times a week. Oh, you see, this is the magic. I had this call from a physician, and he said, I want you to give the annual preventive medicine lecture for our town. I said, what do you want to accomplish with that? I want people to become healthy. I said, forget it, I'm not coming. He said, you're not coming? Why? I said, it's a waste of my time. He said, why? I said, because one lecture only antagonizes people. You go to a church and you have a lecturer giving one lecture, and all it does is creates discord, disharmony. When you want to help people, you have to help them to develop new habits. You want to be healthy? Change your habits. How do you change habits? You have to do something for 21 days. Okay, how many of you are left-handed? Let me see your hands. How many of you are left-handed? Left-handed? Anybody else? Left-handed? How many of you are left-handed on this side here? Can you raise your hand? Okay, just very few. How many of you are left-handed here? Okay, a few. What about here? Okay, now here's your special assignment for tonight. Okay, tonight, when you brush your teeth, I want you to use your right hand and brush your teeth, and chances are you cannot find your mouth. But when you do this for 21 days, 3 times a day, you'll be ambidextrous. You can do it with the right and the left hand. That's what we do with foods. Yes, you know, you try it and you say after 2 days, no, it's too flat. I cannot stand it. I need to have some salt. Folks, you're right. It tastes terrible for 2 to 3 weeks. After 3 weeks, the taste buds are now regenerating themselves. You have new taste buds. You understand that salt is dangerous for you. This is creating a new interpretation of the taste experience. And within 3 weeks, you're eating now low salt food, and you love it. And then someone invites you to come to the church potluck. And you say, I can't believe it. They must have dumped the salt shaker. I mean, this is also salty food. And just 3 weeks earlier, you loved it. You see, you can change. Your taste buds change because of what you have learned. And you say, well, life is not worth living this way. If I don't have my chocolates, I can't take it. Of course you can. After a while, you won't miss it. Oh, it takes a little while. I mean, I've done this for 45 years. It's not a big issue. If you give me some ice cream, some little Magnolia. Do they serve Magnolia ice cream here? Yeah. I had it 45 years ago. That's right. It was good. It was really good. I mean, it was top notch. That's why I remember it. But you know, you give me some ice cream now, and I take a bite, and I say, yeah, that's kind of nice, but it's too sweet. I can't handle it. And it gives you this oily feeling in your mouth. And you say, what? What's wrong with you? You know what's wrong with me? I've changed, and I have a different perception. And so what I'm saying is, you can change your taste buds will change, and you won't miss it. So you have a little bit of Magnolia ice cream. It's not a big issue, okay? I'm not a fanatic, but you know, we need to develop new habit patterns. It's what you do every day that's really, really important, okay? And I always tell people, just don't be judgmental. If you're in a group and someone is progressing faster than you are, you have no right to discriminate. You're not the food police. We're all on the same journey. And some of us take a little bit longer because we have a bigger pack to carry. Are you with me there? And so, but you have to make it part of the whole group process. When you're in a church, you do it for the whole group, not just for 1 or 2 people. When you're in a community like Iloilo, like we had a class not too far from Chicago, and I had 3,000 chippers in my classes there. 3,000 people. I mean, they all began to walk, and they were clogging up the bike trails. And the bikers were complaining, and they said, there are all these walkers out here, we can't bike anymore. You know, and there were 27 restaurants that served healthy chip meals. 5 meals in those 27 restaurants were chip approved. And when I would come to the restaurant and maybe they didn't know who I was, you know, that's the way it was sometimes. They didn't know who I was. And I said, I'm from the chip program. And the people said, wow, you're from the chip program? These are the intellectuals of our town. You're making this the healthiest town in the chip program. What is your name? Then they knew who I was, right? But you know, that's the way it was. You have to create a new environment. You have to create a new atmosphere, a new culture. We are here to transform the culture. If you don't change the culture, it's difficult to do. That's why it's so important to work with the Department of Health. That's why it's important to work, yes. That's why it's important to work with our pastors. That's why it's important to work with our friends here from the Carmelites. We need to be making a transformational change to counterbalance the seductive forces of the commercialized culture that says eat, drink, and be merry, and tomorrow, tomorrow the doctors will save you. The doctors have nothing to offer to us when it comes to chronic diseases. They can diagnose us, they're great doing this, and they can support us, and they can help us to make decisions in some ways. But the drugs and the procedures are not designed to help us with the cause of the problem. It just takes the edge off the symptoms. So you don't feel quite so much pain, but you're not helping the heart. You can bring the cholesterol down with the drugs, but it doesn't help the heart. Are you with me there? But you bring the cholesterol down with the diet, magic. And so when you have your angiogram done again, when they do an X-ray of the arteries, and you're following through as you're doing now, I wouldn't be surprised if they say, what happened to your arteries? They are much wider open now. There's more blood flow coming to the heart muscle. There's more oxygen being delivered. What are you doing? And he said, well, I'm with Dr. Michelle. Yeah. And you see, this is important for our Department of Health here and for all of us. Think of all the money we squander in churches when ministers develop heart disease, which is totally unnecessary. It's largely a self-made disease that's culturally promoted. Think of all the money we squander. This is America here. In 1960, we spent 5% on health care. Now we're spending 20% on health care. We're spending 4 times more money on health care of our earnings than we have done. And are we any healthier? No. Our people live longer sick. Are you with me? You know, what you want to do, it's not important to live longer unless you're healthy.
Yes.
You can live longer, but if you're sick during the last 5, 6 years, you saw that film in the last 10 years. Folks, we are in charge of our health. That's the message of lifestyle medicine. And lifestyle medicine means that you have people that are knowledgeable, that have the science behind them. They can tell you, you can live longer if you make these and these and these changes. And nothing is more important than to make a change towards a simple diet. Nothing is more important than to get into your exercise program, to get your 8, 9 hours sleep, to develop resilience, become a nicer person. You know, I've given my wife, I mean, I don't want to brag, but I mean, I love this Filipino girl. Oh, she is. My aking mahal. Oh man, she's really special. for some time I thought all I have to do is exercise, and all I have to do is eat the right diet, and everything is fine. And then I decided, I learned that, you know, when you're 50 years of age, if you don't exercise regularly, there's muscle atrophy taking place. And when you're 65 years of age and you're going to the toilet, and then you try to get up, and then you pull the cord. Nurse, can you help me? Oh. And I realized I need to develop those muscles. And so then I decided, well, what can I do my exercise? I need to do 1 hour a day, and half of it is cardiovascular and half of it is flexibility, pumping some irons. So I decided I'm going to do it early in the morning when nobody's calling me, when I'm okay. So I decided I'm going to go at 5:30 to 6:30 in the morning and have a friend, because you need to have a partner. Remember? So I said to my partner, can we do this at 5:30? Yes, I'm ready to go. And so I said to my wife, honey, you know, I'm going to get up at 5 o'clock in the morning from now on. You'll probably hear the alarm clock. And after a while, my body gets used to it. You don't need it here anymore. And so I would do this. 5 o'clock, our alarm clock rings. I have my running outfit right there. I turn over to her. You know, I have to get out of bed. When you have such a nice warm body and such a beautiful Filipina, well-tanned, you don't want to leave that bed. No, 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 that's punitive, that's punishment. But then I said, I made a commitment, I have to do it. So I forced myself out of bed. I kissed her. I said, honey, I'm on my way. And she said, I'm proud of you. And I said, why don't you come with me? She says, I'm going at 8:30. Okay, okay, so she has her own program. So I kiss her goodbye, I get into my running outfit. It's 10 minutes later, it's 20 minutes past 5 now. And I'm running down to the gym. It's 1.1 mile. So, okay, 1.7 kilometers. Takes me 10 minutes. I run down there. I meet my friend. We do our exercise. And then I run back home. And then I come home. I take a quick shower. And as I'm looking for my undershirts, you know those kind of things? I open up the drawer. There's a note there. And it says, I recognize the handwriting. It says, I'm so proud of you. And she said, I'll be happy to wash your undershirts every day. Because every day that you exercise, I know that you'll be with me day and night. Guess what? The next morning, you do it. You see, but you have to have friendships. You have to have camaraderie. Just like the restaurants, you have to have meals there, and that's where people go and they greet you. They're not looking at you as some kind of a health nut. It becomes the new cultural norm. See? That's what we need to do. This is American medicine. Now, let me go over to the side here. I'd like to have this gentleman come to the front here. Take the mic and tell me what you see. Describe what you see.
They're cleaning the streets. No. They're cleaning the road. Yeah. Mopping the floor and... Oh. They are health practitioners. Mopping the floor.
He got it, right? What do you see? You see, this is a hospital, and everybody's mopping the floor. They're passing out umbrellas. They're color-coded. You can charge for them quite well, so they don't get wet. What's wrong with the picture? The pipes are leaking. What you need is a plumber, not a doctor. Are you with me? What you need is a health educator. What you need is a chip leader that says, here's what's wrong. And then maybe the doctors don't have to mop up so much, and they have a little more time to play golf and be with the family. Right?
Yes.
Right? That's what we need to do. But that's not medicine. Medicine is oriented towards mopping up, and the more you mop, the more money you make. And that's a very dangerous combination. And so the system of medicine is geared in that fashion. So the medicine, the system becomes a mercenary system. It becomes commercialized, and the physicians become part of that system, and they can't break out. They want to help people, but they have only 13, 14 minutes to see a patient. The system tells them what to do. I want to tell you just a couple more stories, and then I'm moving towards the end here. This is what changed my life. 1972. I was waiting to get into medical school. And I saw the article about the Valley of Beautiful Widows. Well, that sounded very attractive to a young man, even though I was married then, but I was kind of intrigued. A Valley of Beautiful Widows, and that was in Finland. What was happening in that valley? Beautiful widows, young women that become widows because the husband had died at 35, 40, 45, 50 years. Died from heart disease, heart attacks. The highest heart disease mortality rates in the world in Finland, in that area called Karelia. People were 40 years of age, and they would greet each other, two men, and say, "Have you had a heart attack yet?" It was expected that when you're 40 years of age, you have a heart attack. That was normal. The cholesterol levels were way up there, like 7.0, like 280. That's very, very high. The highest rate of heart disease in the world. And then these people, these widows, and those that had not become widows yet, they called on the government and said, "Can the government help us? Why do we have so much heart disease? What can we do?" And so they found a young physician epidemiologist. Okay, someone asked the question, now why do we have so much heart disease here? I mean, most of these people are actually, they're involved in cutting down trees. So they're very active. So it's not a matter of lack of exercise, but then they realized the diet in that part of Finland was terrible. I mean, lots of saturated fat cheese and the bacon and the butters and these kind of things. And when they had coffee, they would have cream with coffee, not coffee with cream. You understand? So they had a lot of saturated fat, high cholesterol. They had also a lot of high blood pressure because they were taking a lot of salt in that area, more than anywhere else. And so he came to these women. First of all, he talked to his medical colleagues and he said, "Hey, listen, we've got to change." And the doctor said, "You're just a young whippersnapper. What that means is, you're just a young doctor. What do you know about this? We understand the score here. You don't understand. Food has nothing to do with it. We're living right next to the Russian border, the Russian bear, and it's the stress about the Russians that cause these people to have heart disease." And he said, "No, I've done my research, I've studied this thing out. It must be related to the salt and the fat and the animal products, lots of meat there, not enough fruits and vegetables, not enough native foods because they don't have it, it's too cold up there." And he said, "We need to bring these foods in here and we need to change the diet." And so he went directly to these little villages, and they formed a group called the Marthas. And he would have leaders there, and they would teach the people, the women, how to cook foods. Real food, slow cooking, right? Not fast food, slow cooking, real food, and show them how to prepare the food. There's Dr. Puska. He said, "Our diet is too rich. People are smoking. They don't, well, they have some exercise, but not really regular. They drink too much alcohol, they're stressed, and insufficient sleep. We need to change this." Here's what they found. This is now 25 years later. It's written up in all the medical journals. Instead of having 100% heart disease here, it was reduced down to 27%. That means 73% reduction in heart disease. The same thing is true for cancer because people began to stop smoking, and all cardiovascular disease was reduced dramatically by almost 70%. The rates are here, they were supposed to be here. In 25 years, all they did they changed the diet. They changed what they put on the fork, and they began to do something about smoking, and they began to become more hopeful that they could develop the success they were promised to do. Today, Finland is one of the lowest, countries, one of the lowest heart disease death rates in the world. Why? Because of one young physician that we will be honoring as the leading lifestyle medicine authority. For the last many, many years, he has been the leader of chronic disease management in the World Health Organization in Geneva, Switzerland. And he cut his teeth on that study in Finland, where they had the valleys of beautiful widows. Well, I can take you to, that's where I work. This is Loma Linda University. Loma Linda University is well known for having the longest living people in America. Loma Linda is the center of longevity because it represents the Adventist lifestyle. You may not know this, but Adventists don't smoke and Adventists don't usually use alcohol. Would that be giving them an advantage? Would it? Yes, it would. Because smoking contributes to heart disease. Alcohol is not in your best interest. There are clear indications, it gets stronger every day, it's not in your best interest. But the Adventist people, when they studied them with large studies, they found that the Adventist meat eaters had less heart disease deaths than the Californian in general. Why do you think these people here in California in general had more heart disease deaths than the Adventist meat eaters? Yeah, because they don't smoke. You know, these people don't smoke, these people smoke, so that would explain part of that, right? So then they studied the Adventists and said, okay, let's look at the Adventists among themselves. Some of these Adventists, they are vegetarians, and some of these Adventists are pure vegetarians. These people eat eggs and dairy, but they're basically vegetarians. And these people are pure vegetarians. Who has the most heart disease? Guess who was? 3 times more heart disease in this group than in this group down here. Green is the color that you want to aim for. It made big waves in the scientific community. And so the government gave Loma Linda over $25–30 million and said, look, study these Adventists more because after all of these people don't use alcohol, more or less, and most of the people don't smoke. So that must be, and they live a similar lifestyle in general, except some of these Adventists are vegetarians and some of them are not. Is there a difference between them? What do you think they found? Well, let me show you. This is all scientifically documented in more than 250 scientific papers. The Adventists that they are eating eggs and dairy, right? Milk and eggs, but they're basically vegetarians. When you compare these with Adventists that are meat eaters, guess what happens? They only have half the amount of high blood pressure. They only have about 2/3 the amount of arthritis. They only have 2/3 the amount of prostate cancer. They only have half the amount of colon cancer. And boy, everybody was shocked. And the government said, can you do this study on a larger population? And we'll pay for it again. So the Adventist Health Study was born as a follow-up study. And now they did this about 9–10 years ago. And they found that looking at Adventists across North America, there are about 1 million Adventists. They found that about 10% of them are vegans, no animal products. About 30% are lacto-vegetarians. 10% are fish eaters, and 50% of the Adventists in North America are meat eaters. Well, who do you think did best? Do you want to know, or do you rather not? Well, let me give you some of the results. This is discussed today in large scientific conferences, the importance of the right diet in averting, preventing these common killer diseases. This is now looking at Adventist women. The red is meat, and the green is pure vegetarians. Guess this is plant food, this is animal products. The Adventist women in North America that are meat eaters on the average weigh 40 pounds more than the people here. For the men, it's the same idea. The Adventist meat eaters weigh about 32 pounds more than the pure vegetarians. Then please note, diabetes. These are the meat eaters in the Adventists. These are, and you can, I mean look, you can pick what you want. You say, well, I don't really want to be a vegetarian. I just like to have a little bit of diabetes. So maybe I settle for fish. Okay, so that's here. You can choose what you want to do. Okay, and then that's diabetes. What about high blood pressure? Well, you know, I really don't want to go all the way to being a lacto-vegetarian. You know, I mean, I just cut back on meat a little bit. Okay, so then you get a little bit less high blood pressure. That's okay. But if you want to really cut it way back, look at this. It's difficult to find high blood pressure in vegetarians. This is plant-based. And mind you, these vegetarian Adventists are not necessarily healthy eaters. Some of them can be junk food eaters, right? They have the Oreos and the, you know, the pies and so on. I mean, if you really would check them out, when they're really doing the right thing, what we know we perhaps could do, who knows? Are you with me? Cholesterol. 15% of the Adventists that are meat eaters are on cholesterol medication. Vegetarians, 3%. And I'm even surprised that some of them are actually taking some medication. Okay. So you can see, the further you move in this direction here, the more you get to the color green. The more plant-based you go, the better you are off. I want to help you to understand that it's not just about preventing disease. We know these diseases are preventable. There's no question about that these diseases are preventable. Heart disease and diabetes and hypertension and obesity, these are preventable diseases if we are willing to make the lifestyle changes. But what about if I already have the disease? Is it too late? This is World War II. This is Norway. The the Nazis, the soldiers march into Norway. They take all the livestock from the people there to feed the soldiers, and the people in Norway become vegetarians by force. It's war. It's the worst of anxiety, the worst of stress that anybody can experience. And you know, sometimes people say, well, I have heart disease because of all the stress. Well, this is war. World War II. Stress is everywhere. But they're following a very simple diet because the Nazis took all the food away from them. The geese, the chickens, the cattle, the pork, the pigs, everything was gone to feed their soldiers. They had to live on very simple foods. They were growing the foods in their gardens again. And look what happened to heart disease. Dropped and dropped and dropped and dropped. This is what happened to diabetes. Dropped and dropped and dropped and dropped. This is what happened to begin to happen with regard to cancer. And then people say, you mean the diet could be the one? If this is diet related, then if the war is over and people go back to their original diet, their pre-war diet, then if your idea is correct, then what happens to the diseases? They should all come back again, right? That's exactly what happened. And this goes very fast. Within 1 year, you can see the dramatic improvement and the dramatic decline in health. Here is a famous physician at the Cleveland Clinic. He took 18 patients. These 18 patients were close to dying. They were given 6 months to live, 12 months to live. They already had all the bypasses, the stents, all of these kind of things. And nothing could be done for these people anymore. So they come to him and say, can you help us? Because we understand you're using a plant-based whole food diet program. He didn't say anything about exercise. He just said, I want you to change your diet. I see you every 2 weeks. And every 2 weeks I take your cholesterol because I can tell whether you're on the diet or you're not. Because if the cholesterol goes up, you know you're not following the diet. So that's what he did. Here's what he found. This is coronary artery disease. This is a plaque buildup that you talked about, Annabelle. See here? It's very narrowed. This is all plaque here, the dark area. There's very little blood flowing through the artery here. This person has angina pain, in big trouble. All you need is a clogging here, and that's the end of that muscle area there of the heart. This is 2-3 years, 2.5 years later. The same artery, no drugs, no surgery, just a simple diet, and the body again is in a default position of intelligent self-healing. That's the message. Diabetes, 80 patients on insulin. This is going back to 1955. We've done this over and over and over again. I just want you to know this has been around for a long time. CHIP is not something brand new. 80 patients on insulin. They put them on a very simple diet, whole foods, plant-based. It's published in the famous Lancet Medical Journal in England. Within 6 weeks, 50 out of 80 patients are off insulin. Folks, are you listening? 6 weeks, no more medication. The new people, these people, when you are diagnosed as a diabetic, it's a death sentence for you. You can take all the medications you want, it's a death sentence. You lose your sight, you lose your kidney function, you have amputations, all of these things happen. But if you make the lifestyle changes, when you get on the esplanade, when you do your exercise, when you get into a simple diet, look, within 6 weeks, 50, that's 62% success, diabetes is gone. And here, you see the top men in the world, he said 80 to 90% of these patients on pills could be off these pills and no longer be diabetics. How many weeks? In just a few weeks. So let me close by giving you a challenge. This is a very exciting phase today. Medicine can do some wonderful things when it comes to infectious diseases. Medicine can do wonderful things when it comes to broken legs, acute care. Medicine can do good diagnosis. We want to have medicine around, of course. But when it comes to these chronic, non-communicable diseases, we need to become involved in an intelligent way. It's sometimes not enough to just read a book. It can be helpful. But you need to have a physician that understands and can guide you and can support you. You need to have a group that is working with you, because to do it by yourself, it's just too difficult. And then, you see, what we're discovering now is when you make these dietary changes, it's not just your health, your physical health, it affects your emotional health, it affects your spiritual health, it affects the ecology. The animals will be more grateful to you if you don't kill 1 million every hour in America. And the planet Earth might have a chance to survive the onslaught of how we dominate and exploit nature. Do you remember this picture, Lithuania? Let me give you the final word here. Lithuania, 2.5 million people. I spoke there for the first time 4 years ago. Last week, the government of Lithuania, with a lot of leaders there that I brought to Loma Linda to introduce them to CHIP and to the Adventist lifestyle in general. These people are now in leadership positions in the government in Lithuania. And last week they decided that they will have a two-tier medical care system. They said we will have a medical care system that takes care of acute care, episodic care, infectious diseases and diagnosis. But we will have another track of lifestyle medicine, which will take care of the chronic diseases, which will consume 85% of our money as a society from healthcare. 85% of our healthcare costs in America are given to symptom relief of chronic disease without curing the disease. They said we cannot afford it. We are a small country. We cannot afford a bypass for $150,000. We need to help people to make changes, and we will do it. And so the first step in this process has now been developed. We're just taking these concepts to Saudi Arabia, because there again, the people told me last time when I was there, they said our kings used to live 75, 85 years. Now our kings at 59 have their bypasses, at 45 they're diabetics. We have become Americanized by the diet. We need to change. We need to go back to our simple native foods. You know what? This is an international, global change. And we want you to be part of it here. I mean, I love the Filipino people. I love that girl. I show you some of the pictures later on of the kids that we have. I have a proud grandfather here too. We love the Filipino people. We love the work that Michelle and her husband Joel are doing here in the Remnant Center. It is a comprehensive care program, not just eating right, but many other aspects, massage, becoming a nicer person. And remember I told you, whenever I would go on a trip, I would give my wife flowers. I would always go to the florist and say, bring some flowers to my wife on Friday afternoon, right after, just before sundown when she's closing down her music studio. Let her know her mahal is thinking of her. I want to ask you this here, you men, listen to you. Listen, let me approach you personally. You men, when did you give flowers to your wife last time?
It's a good thing I'm not the husband.
When I was in Taiwan a couple of months ago, I asked the people the same question. I asked these people, I said, when did you give flowers to your wife the last time? And the wives were there in the auditorium, and they did. Tell me it was wedding date. And so one man said, no, I give my wife flowers on Valentine's Day. And she said, tell him what year. Thank you so much.
All right, thank you so much, Dr. Hans. Now, we come to a time when anybody can ask their question. Maybe we can have 5 questions. If you may have. Yes, please.
I am a vegetarian, and when I tell people we should eat beans, no, but beans causes arthritis. Is that true?
I'm not familiar that beans would cause arthritis. We give these kind of foods as they come out of the hand of the master designer to all of our patients. Many of them are arthritics. There's no problem. We make sure also that they get into an exercise program, even though it hurts quite a bit, because they have to have an improved circulatory system. Okay, next one.
Sister.
Can I give the mic? Here.
When somebody told me that because my cholesterol level is only 197, and they said, sister, you eat eggs because you might have Alzheimer. I don't know how true is it.
What was the cholesterol? 197?
0.9.
Oh, 0.9.
Very normal.
You know, eggs, you know, it's the egg yolk that has the cholesterol in general. It's eggs, the yolks. Eggs should be used for the biologic function that they were created for. To develop baby chicks. They don't need to be eaten. It is the strongest, the most condensed form next to eating liver to eat egg yolks. It's the highest concentration of cholesterol there. It's not recommended. We always tell people when they ask me about eggs, I said, yes, I recommend that you eat eggs. And they all relax. And they will say, yeah, finally we can have something here. I said, I recommend eggs. 1 egg every leap year. I wouldn't worry about Alzheimer's. I wouldn't worry about Alzheimer's.
Okay, next, please. Okay, somebody from the back. This is our 3rd question.
Doc, I've been serving athletes, the black and the white. Can we attribute blacks or usually eating plant component? Is there so yung stamina nila is far better than the whites?
What is the question? What is the question?
No, black people.
Black people.
What about black people?
They are.
We are mostly boxers,
Okay.
tennis players like Serena Williams.
What is it?
So is there any
Yeah.
difference between the black people and the white people?
Yeah. And we have
Oh, yes.
lifestyle and
Yeah,
food.
yeah. So the question is, are there different disease rates among black people when compared to Caucasian white people? Is that the question?
They have, black people have more stamina compared to white people because here in the Philippines, Filipino love boxing. I'm sure you know Manny Pacquiao. So everybody watch Manny Pacquiao.
Manny.
Yeah, Manny Pacquiao. So we observe that black people have more stamina compared compared to white people? That's the question.
I am not aware of this. You know, I would not be surprised because, you know, especially in the black people in America, they're very, very athletically oriented, especially the taller ones. The basketball is a huge sport there among black people in particular. And as they engage in these sports activities, I think there are also people that begin to show up and having more stamina than anybody else. I think that might be one of the contributing factors why they appear to some of you as having more stamina. It might be a self-selection process. Do you have any ideas?
I'm not an American. But I guess, you know, black people compared to white people, these black people has lots of difficulties, you know, from the very beginning. And they're hard-working people compared to white. That's how I see it.
Okay, thank you. Another question?
Okay, sir. So this is a heart patient as well. Amazingly, his candidate for, was that stent?
No.
Was it?
Aortic valve replacement.
Okay, aortic valve replacement.
Okay, so now my question is this. Last year, I had 2 heart attacks. I was advised to go to the Philippine Heart Center for aortic valve replacement because I have severe aortic stenosis and also acute coronary disease. But of course, because of the Lord, I was healed. However, even I left the Philippine Heart Center after 10 days, I still had that chest pains. I asked 6 cardiologists already, why is it I still have that chest pain? And 4 from the Makati Medical Center cannot give me the reason. My question is this: assuming I involve myself in this change of my lifestyle, and I am now taking 4 medicines for my heart, for high blood pressure, for my blood, all in all there are 4. If I engage myself in this lifestyle medicine on a program, do I need still to take these medicines, maintenance medicines?
So this person has coronary artery disease. He has chest pain. You also had some aortic stenosis, you said? Have you had some surgery for the valve? Yes, okay. But the coronary artery disease is still there. Yeah, the coronary disease is different from the aortic stenosis. That's well taken care of. The surgeons would take good care of you when it comes to those kind of things. There's not much you can do with diet when it comes to aortic stenosis. But your coronary artery disease is still there. You're taking 4 medications. You have all the numbers, all the risk profile for heart disease. High blood pressure. Are you possibly struggling with some blood sugar levels too?
I don't have diabetes.
And are you, okay, are you struggling with some extra pounds?
Yes, that's my problem to lose weight.
Okay. You're developing a lot of insight. You are coming up with all the answers.
Yeah.
Do you think you can do something about the blood sugars? Do you think you can do something about the blood pressure?
I think so.
Okay. You can do something about that special, nicely rounded exterior? You can? And we show you in the CHIP program how you can eat more, but of the right foods, and you will never feel deprived, and you will find your cholesterol will come down. The angina will diminish within 2 to 3 weeks if you're really serious about it. I mean, you have an excellent chance that that can happen to you. There are always probabilities. Some people, it takes longer. Some people, sometimes it doesn't work. But in general, you probably have a 60, 70, 80% likelihood that your coronary-related chest pain will diminish fairly rapidly within 6 to 12 weeks. but you have to
You have
see.
to consult your physician when it comes to your medication. We really work with your specialist, as we take our medication.
You have to come under the wings of a very enlightened physician, and she will work with your physicians and work things out.
Thank you.
Thank you very much.
Okay, last question, please. Okay, we have here the last one.
I'd like to commit to being a vegan, but I don't think I can do it. The next best thing for me would be to do the lacto-over thing. So how do I do this safely, and what kind of cooking oil can I use in certain small amounts?
Yeah. Can you use your imagination? Can you think of two triangles? There's a triangle like this, and there's a triangle below. So when you put these two triangles together, it looks like a rectangle, right? The lower triangle is green. No, let's make it red. The lower triangle is red. The upper triangle is green. The red triangle contains meat, eggs, dairy, processed foods, alcohol, smoking. Okay? Typical American diet. The green triangle contains native fruits, native vegetables, whole grains, oats, these kind of things. And then you have legumes, lots of beans, and you have maybe a few nuts and some avocados, lots of water, okay? Exercise, no smoking. So what we now recommend is you're in this red triangle because that's the culture. Most of us are in this triangle. And we say, as you move more and more to the right-hand side, more and more, you eat less and less of these, but you begin to eat more and more of these. The health is here, the disease is here. You with me? So the further you move in this direction, the better you will get. The faster you move in this direction, the faster you will get. The more changes you make, the faster you make them, the faster the results. If you cannot make the results because, I don't know, there may be a family, a husband that doesn't want to go along with that, and so you just do it as best as you can. Do it slowly, it's okay. But if you have heart disease, if you have diabetes, don't wait around. Do it. But if you are otherwise 30, 40 years of age and you're pretty good, do it as you can considering the circumstances. And by the way, you need to be ready from the inside. Nobody can tell you you need to do this. Maybe, not even you can do that. You have to help people to get ready for it. They have to understand it when you say yes. And then you just begin to make these changes. You maybe can find a supplier, a provider, like Dr. Michelle here. There are recipe books. You do it as you see it fits into your lifestyle. Is that kind of helpful?
Yeah, I just wanted to know what kind of cooking oil I can use.
Or what kind of cooking oil? Yeah, you can. I mean, why do you need cooking oil to start with? No, just a minute. No. Oh, I know. How do you make lumpia without oil, right? I understand. But you can use less and less and less. And most recipes, if you cut the oil in half, it doesn't really do much damage to the taste of the food. So if you want to use some oil, if you want to use some olive oil, it's not a big issue with me. If you want to use some corn, it's not a big issue with me, because even olive oil has 15% saturation, but it's not too bad. So use it in small amounts and you're fine. My wife, she cooks at home. She has some special frying pans. You don't need any oil whatsoever. You just use some water and it works. So I mean, these are all things that you develop over time. I wouldn't worry too much about this. Use less oil and you'll be okay. And it doesn't matter whether it's olive oil or corn oil. Just be very careful with coconut oil because that's so high in saturation. Okay? Is that helping you a little bit?
It is. And also the
Oh, 1% milk for pasta? Yeah. You need milk for pasta? You make your own pasta?
Instead of cream.
Oh, I see. Yeah, it's working in the right direction. Just take it as you feel you can. Don't feel the burden, I have to be perfect all at once. Just move towards from cream to milk or 1% milk. Do the best you can and then read some more books. You'll see as you open one door, other doors begin to open up. Okay? All right.
He's Coming Broadcasting Network.